In the magic world, every little wizard is very precious. Combining this sentence in the original book with the rare number of people in the British magic world, I speculate that in the magic world, a wizard's pregnancy is actually the result of the fusion of the magical powers of both parents. The higher the degree of parental integration, the higher the possibility that the child will be a wizard, and vice versa. The child may be a squib, and may not even be able to give birth to a small wizard. After the parents have successfully conceived the little wizard, their own magic power will be weakened, because wizards with high mana such as Voldemort, Dumbledore, Grindelwald, McGonagall, Flitwick, Bellatrix, Sneak, and so on have no children. Therefore, the author assumes that the birth of the little wizard will take away part of the magic power of both parents. Speaking of which, someone will definitely mention Molly Weasley in Bellatrix's final battle. Bella's high status among the Death Eaters in her early years shows that she is superhuman, but she was defeated in Azkaban. After being locked up for 14 years, her strength has been greatly reduced, and it is possible to have one more. Well, Rowling has given the villain a halo of wisdom. And the bloodline theory actually makes sense. There are almost no pure hemp wizards with high magic power. The author started writing in 1970. At this time, Voldemort had already made 4 Horcruxes, a diary, a ring, a crown, and a gold cup. The soul was not particularly unstable. In the original book, at this time, he was still trying to win over his supporters. Knowing the canvassing, his brain must be normal. He didn't have the violence after the resurrection. Bellatrix was accused of marrying Rodolphus Lestrange, and it is speculated here that it was to make the Lestrange family stand in line. Although he knew that he might be persuaded to quit, the author believes that there must be strong and weak magic in the magic world. In The Goblet of Fire, when Moody was showing the unforgivable curse to his classmates in class, he once said that he suspected that if they cast the death curse on him, it would only make his nose bleed. If there is no difference between strong and weak, the whole play will end if Old Deng or Voldemort is not paying attention to one Arvada. And I think that the more lethal the spell, the greater the consumption of magic power. Otherwise, when the Death Eaters fight, there is no need to recite other spells, just keep Arvada. In order to more intuitively show the strength of the characters in the book, the magic power is divided into 7 regular levels, which corresponds to the 7 mentioned in the book, which is a very magical number. 1. Apprentice Magician. You can only use some very simple spells, such as floating spells, unlocking spells, lighting, etc. 2. Junior Magician. Small wizards of this level can use some spells that require less magic power, such as petrification spells, fainting, sticking sticks in front teeth, etc. 3. Intermediate Magician. O.W.L.S. can get a pass or above. 4. Senior Magician. At least 5 N.E.W.T.S. exams are not lower than E, exceeding expectations, which is also the basic condition for becoming an Auror. 5. The Great Magician. He has become proficient in silently casting spells, and can continuously cast some spells that consume a lot of mana, such as Crucifixion, Life-Sucking, God-Calling Guard, etc. 6. The Magister. The level of Dumbledore and Voldemort, Grindelwald has no description, so it is not included. 7. The Holy Magician. Continuously cast spells without a staff, make up your own mind. The 2 Wizarding Wars left the elites of the European wizarding world out of 10, and the pure-blooded family was completely in decline. In order to avoid suspicion, those who survived merged with Muggles one after another, their bloodlines were tainted, the power of the entire magical world was weakened, and they eventually disappeared completely. Salazar Slytherin sends the protagonist, Reggie, to the world of Harry Potter at the expense of his soul. With the vision of God, he brought the inheritance of Slytherin, and finally saved the magic world. The original is a children's book, and I opened this book to write an adult version. The author wants to interpret some insights about the magic world from the perspective of his own understanding. Non-pure blood advocates, pay tribute to Rowling. Chapter 1 Pure Blood Squib 1970, England, Lestrange Manor. Goose feather snow was constantly floating in the sky, the lawn in the manor was covered with thick white snow, and there were no traces of other human habitations around the entire manor. The 2 windows were opened at will, and the cold wind mixed with snowflakes kept pouring into the room along the windowsill. The boy walked to the window and took a deep breath. It was a little cold but not as biting as he imagined. As the ancestral home of the Lestrange family, this house has long been blessed with many protective spells. Every winter, Donis can't wait to wrap every corner of the house with waterproof and moisture-proof spells. A small dark shadow appeared in the snowstorm. The owl flew straight towards his room with the envelope in its mouth. Reggie Lestrange took the envelope from the little guy's mouth and fed him some high-quality owl wet food. Gone. Unfolding the letter is the latest edition of the New York Ghost. Don't get me wrong, Regis doesn't have any interest in either ghosts or New York. Every issue of this newspaper presents an old Runevan logic guessing game, which is his purpose. In the room, there was a sound like a burst of air, and a shrill voice sounded, "Master Regis, the master asked you to come downstairs." Donis is the house elf of the Lestrange family, with large, bat-like ears and bulging eyes the size of tennis balls. "Okay, I know." With another pop, Donis instantly disappeared from the room. Reggie is 10 years old this year, and it has been 10 years since he came to the world of Harry Potter. After knowing that he had traveled to the world of Harry Potter, with the perspective of God, he only felt that he was about to reach the peak of his life, and he was looking forward to growing up quickly and experiencing all the wonders of magic. Haha, when I was a child, I was so stupid that I wanted to grow up quickly. Soon Reggie panicked, because he found that he seemed to have accidentally become a little Death Eater. The Lestrange family, as one of the oldest pure-blood aristocrats, can be called full of loyalty among the Death Eaters. Recalling the original book, old Lestrange died early, and the cause of death book did not elaborate. The eldest son, Rodolphus, married Bellatrix. The whole family is loyal and no one knows the cuckold world. This is the biggest impression of most readers on Rodolphus, Harry Potter's first cuckold. Apart from joining the Death Eaters, the second son, Robistan, doesn't have much records. It seems that he has been making troubles behind his brother and sister-in-law. Now there is one more of him, Reggie Lestrange, who is almost a surefire Death Eater reserve. And he also went directly to his parents, that is, before the outbreak of the First Wizarding War. The plot in the original book was almost blank during this time. He only knew that Voldemort failed when he tried to kill Harry Potter. If the above is nothing, after all, I know the general direction of the plot, then as I grow up day by day, Regis's situation gradually becomes more subtle. Because his magic has never been awakened. In the wizarding world, most young wizards will experience awakening magic before the age of 7, and receive a notice from Hogwarts before the age of 11. Now Regis is 10 years old, but he still doesn't feel any magic fluctuations, which means that he is probably a squib. He is now the second child of the Lestrange family, the younger brother of Rodolphus and the younger brother-in-law of Bellatrix. He felt as if he had guessed why the Lestrange family only had 2 sons in the original book. The noble Lestrange family has produced a dirty squib. Just thinking about it was unbearable. Old Lestrange stared gloomily at Reggie, who came down the stairs. "I have something to announce." The tone was a little heavy. Now that Voldemort is starting to recruit troops, Reggie knew from side beside that his family has not yet publicly stood in line, but only agreed with the bloodline theory that Voldemort promoted. It was the Christmas holiday, and Rodolphus, who was in the 4th grade, was there, and the whole family gathered in the hall at this time. The 3 of Ridge stood side by side. Old Lestrange sat on the dark green sofa, rubbing the armrest with his raised snake head, and the fire in front of the fireplace made him flicker. "The Black family sent an invitation to invite all of our family members to the party tomorrow night. The venue is Black's old house." Regis quickly reacted, and the Black family had announced that they would stand in line. In this sensitive period, tomorrow night would only be a feast for the family. If his expectations were not bad, he should have invited a lot of families whose positions were still vacillating, and he would definitely publicize Voldemort's theory at the party to help them make up their minds. Regis secretly speculated that maybe even Voldemort himself would be there. I want to know what you think about it. Old Lestrange looked at Rodolphus, and he had high hopes for this family heir. Rodolphus is only in the 4th grade now, and he doesn't care when he hears his father's questioning. I don't think it's a big deal, it's just a party. And father, I think it's time for us to take a stand. Anyway, the idea that the grown-up is promoting is consistent with our goals. Can't tell if it was disappointment or what kind of feeling. Old Lestrange did not make any comments after listening to the eldest son's words, and then looked at the second son unexpectedly. What do you think? It felt a little surprising to be named Regis all of a sudden. My point of view? Of course, run away. But he still answered truthfully, Father, I don't think we should take our position lightly. Voltade. Some of the actions of that lord are a little extreme and are not in the interests of our family, and Dumbledore will not sit idly by. You must know that he personally defeated the German one not long ago. You read www.yuyuganshu.com. There was a crack in the fire, and he paused. All we have to do is wait, and then stand on the side of the winner. Old Lestrange was silent for a while, no one knew what he was thinking. Robistan blinked, silently recalling the words of the 2 older brothers just now, mixing them up in his heart, waiting for his father to ask him questions. Unexpectedly, old Lestrange didn't ask any more questions, but got up and walked to Reggie. You still haven't felt any magic fluctuations? After a while of silence, Reggie shook her head with difficulty. Even if there was only 1 year left, he did not give up hope. He has always insisted on reading a lot of magic theory knowledge, not only taught himself rune, but even delved into why house elves can cast spells without a staff. In fact, even if he is really just a squib in the end, he is confident that he can live like a duck in the water in the Muggle world. But old Lestrange looked away, no longer watching him turn and leave, leaving only one sentence, our Lestrange family, born noble, will never have a squib. Ridge groaned in his heart. This was the worst outcome he was worried about. The Lestrange family, like the Black family, is paranoid about blood and family. In order to ensure the purity of blood, there have also been many close relatives. If the Blacks' highest punishment for squibs, traitors is to be removed from the family, burning a hole in the tapestry of glory to maintain their claim of eternal purity, then the Lestranges are choose to let the shame of these families return to Merlin's arms and be purified. The fireplace was burning brightly, but Ridge felt a little cold. As if being squeezed into a rubber tube, Regis felt that his stomach was about to escape from his esophagus, and subconsciously closed his eyes and clenched his teeth. Looking at number 12 Grimmauld Place in front of him, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. The first time he experienced the door key, he felt terrible. The Black family and Lestrange have not been married, so the fireplace between the two families has not been opened. Regis and Robistan were too young to be suitable for apparition, and Blake apparently thought of this too, and attached a door key to the invitation. Creaker was waiting at the door, and Reggie noticed that it was wearing a bow tie with an emerald the size of a soybean inlaid in the middle. At this point, Creaker looked extremely happy, completely unable to confuse it with the gloomy, neurotic elf after the Black family's collapse. Old Lestrange obviously noticed it, and sighed strangely, Black, oh, walls, I'm guessing with Orion about when you'll show up. Walburga is a beautiful and powerful woman. She warmly greeted old Lestrange, and her husband, Orion, with champagne behind her, nodded in agreement from time to time. Regis boredly looked at the old Blake house in front of him, typical of Slytherin style. This house is older than his own manor, and it looks extremely luxurious. Even the carpets under his feet are masterpieces from 17 Goblins. He feels that there is always a dull smell in the air. Most of the people at the banquet he do not know. Walburga asked these children to join their social circle. Other people play Quidditch in the yard. You can go there together. The three nodded and left. In the yard, a group of half-year-old children were having a good time. Most of the little witches sat on the side chatting in twos and threes. The magic here seemed to be stronger, and Regis could not feel the cold at all. Rodolphus saw his classmates and went to say hello. The Quidditch here uses children's brooms. Most of the little wizards who haven't gone to Hogwarts are playing. Rodolphus will be in 5th grade next year, so he's naturally not interested in this kind of child's play at home. Regis watched his younger brother excitedly join the battle, and he stood there and didn't move. Robistan can fly around on a broom, but he can only plunge into the garbage heap because without magic, he can't evoke the broom at all. Thinking of his plan, Reggie returned to the house while no one noticed him. The layout of the old house is roughly similar. He walked to the back of the stairs, the kitchen. At the door of the kitchen, he visited a large cabinet. Creaker, are you here? Pa Creaker with a bow tie appeared in front of Reggie. It looked a little puzzled, but bowed. Respected young master of the Lestrange family, honored guest of the great hostess, what do you have for Creaker? Originally not sure if he could summon other people's house elves, Regis was a little excited. Creaker, I need your help with something. Can you set up a barrier for our area? Thank you. The hostess told old Creaker to take good care of the guests, especially the VIPs. Lestrange was one of them, and Creaker did as Reggie asked. Reggie didn't show a condescending attitude because of Creaker's apparent obedience, but thanked him in a gentle and friendly manner, and praised his green bow tie. Sure enough, Creaker looked very happy, even his drooping ears stood up a little, and he spoke excitedly. This is given to old Creaker by the kind-hearted Master Regulus. Thank you Master Regis for his appreciation. It seems that he has succeeded in his favor, and his title has been successfully changed from Master Lestrange to Master Regis. House elves are products of alchemy, and they are loyal to their wizarding families all their lives. The praise of their masters is the best reward for them. Regis believes that their magic is better than that of wizards. Because they do not need a wand to perform all kinds of magic, the master's command is above all else. He asked Creaker to cast magic in the air. In theory, magic is a combination of elements. If the magic is dispersed, it should be able to exist in the form of energy. Creaker looked at him puzzled with big eyes and nodded obediently. It's done. Regis was a little excited, but it was really possible? He felt as if there was an invisible mass in the air. At this moment, Creaker in front of him is like a burning flame, and the magic power scattered around it is like the air above the flame, and his naked eyes can observe the slight changes in the air. But how to absorb the magic power is a problem. Regis tried to take a big breath, to no avail. After a while, he made a bold decision to touch the magic power around Creaker with his hands. With a bang, Creaker flew out and slammed into his beloved cupboard, and Reggie also let out a scream, ah! He felt a surging magic power rampage in his body, and his weak body gradually couldn't bear it. Pain. Incomparable pain. If he didn't release this power, Regis felt like his body was about to explode. Reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Creaker watched in horror at the change in front of him, and in pain kept hitting his head against the wall to punish himself. Humph! Look at where the idiot came from, the idiot of the Lestrange family. An arrogant female voice sounded. Reggie heard the other party's words, but the intense pain made him unable to speak. It's enough for the woman to hide and watch the fun, but she can't really let the other party have an accident here. She waved her wand lightly and chanted a long series of ancient and complicated incantations, and the magic power of Reggie's riot in her body was slowly dissipating. At this time, a sudden change occurred. Regis felt that some images suddenly appeared in his mind. Why a girl? Bella, protect your sister. Sister, this is the necklace my mother gave me. I heard it was passed down from my great-grandmother. That crazy woman doesn't have to obediently marry us after she graduates, she won't be arrogant for long. Bellatrix, are you willing to be my most loyal friend? I will. Gouging out the bone. Bella, I need the support of the Lestrange family, are you willing to help me? Rodolphus is a good boy, how about making him your husband? No, master, I beg you. The screen stopped abruptly. The woman who was at ease before let out a hysterical scream, you! How dare you! Regis finally looked up at the woman. The woman has an amazing beauty, with long thick and bright black hair, like a rose with thorns. At this moment, her eyebrows and eyes are full of cruelty. The guess in his heart was confirmed, he already knew the identity of the woman in front of him, Bellatrix Black. He had just spied through many of Bella's secrets, probably due to legilimency caused by magical violence. In the original book, this happened when Harry and Snape were learning occlumency. How did Snape do it? Angrily kicks Harry out and cancels makeup classes. What will Bellatrix do? The other party has calmed down now, and slowly raised his wand at him. Sister-in-law, you! Drill the heart and gouge out the bone. A sister-in-law, tears fell like rain. Her spell took effect very quickly. Bella perfectly displayed the level of a high-level magician. Unforgivable spells are no strangers to her. What she lacks most is a real heart. At the door of the kitchen of Black's old house, Reggie was like a dying fish. The protective mechanism of his brain didn't work. The intense pain made him suspect that he was awakened again before he fainted. Slut, crazy woman! Regis scolded the quintessence of the country thousands of times in his heart. As a descendant of the Black family, Bellatrix has an extraordinary appearance and is extremely talented in magic. Under the influence of the family, he has been a blood fanatic since childhood. Although it was only a year after graduating, Bella had gained a firm place among the Death Eaters by virtue of her strong strength and ruthlessness, and she liked to torture others with the Cruciatus curse the most. Stop! Bella, what are you doing? Walburga screamed nervously. Accept your weapons. Old Lestrange shot. Bella had to turn around and fight back. The severe pain suddenly disappeared, Regis breathed heavily, and her small body was still twitching. Everyone was listening to Walburga's eloquent talk in the hall when Creaker suddenly appeared with tears in his eyes and told his noble mistress that the young master of the Lestrange family had an accident. Could it be that the Order of the Phoenix and the others rushed over? Impossible, even if they suddenly went crazy, they wouldn't run over and take a shot at a little wizard. The house was set up with an anti-apparition formation, and everyone rushed over to see the scene in front of them. Enough, stop! Looking at the two fighting, Walburga let out a hysterical scream, then pulled out his wand and fired a spell to separate the two. Old Lestrange's face was gloomy. He looked at Bellatrix with deep fear, and then turned his gaze to Walburga. Is this how the Black family treats guests? Walburga, I need an explanation. Although old Lestrange's tone made her feel offended, Walburga held back. As the current head of the Black family, he vaguely knew a little about that Lord's plan, and knew that he could not ruin the other party's affairs. Damn Bella, she actually made the Black family lose face on such an important occasion. She calmed down and said indifferently, Bellatrix Black, what happened here? Bella didn't speak, but kept pointing her wand at Lestrange. In her heart, she might think it would be good to take this opportunity to get rid of the Lestrange family. Just under the stalemate in the atmosphere, Regis, who had been lying on the ground motionless, suddenly opened his eyes. A smile appeared on his face, and then the corners of his mouth became wider and wider, and finally he couldn't help laughing out loud. The next second, the vibration in his chest made him gasp in pain. No one knew that just when he was about to die, Goldfinger, who had not appeared for a long time since time traveled, finally appeared. Inheritance from Salazar Slytherin. The haze that had accumulated in Rugi's heart for a long time finally dissipated. After all, he was not just an A, B, C, and D, and there was no man who didn't want to achieve an earth-shattering career. He listened to the words of several people's conversations, and he knew that this matter would not have any results, so give Regis justice? Imprison Bellatrix, the powerful general of that lord, in Azkaban? Justice is never asked for by others, but given by oneself. Today's humiliation will be repaid in the future. Bellatrix, he noted. Father, my magic power has awakened. Then, what? Are you telling the truth? Old Lestrange was excited. Regis is not a squib, Mary's beard. Yes, speaking of which, I would like to thank Miss Black, but I feel very uncomfortable right now. Yes, Reggie was just a 9-year-old wizard who had just suffered such a serious injury. Old Lestrange decided to take him to St. Mungo's first, and of course it would never be a letdown. Outside Grimmauld Place, a chubby man wearing a gentleman's hat suddenly appeared in the ice and snow. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com. The ministry sensed that there was a magic riot of a little wizard here, and immediately sent him over here. This man is a hemp wizard. He looked at Blake's old house in front of him and swallowed. This pure-blooded lunatic is known to everyone in the magic world. Thinking of his identity, there have been many cases of hemp wizards being attacked in the magic world recently. Forget it, the Black family are all pure-blood wizards, so they should be fine. In the blink of an eye, the man's figure disappeared, leaving only footprints on the snow, which were quickly covered by falling snow. After learning that the little wizard in front of him had just received a crucifixion, Reggie was immediately pushed to the 4th floor, and a lot of spells were thrown at him, feeling that his body became warm. However, the doctors were surprised to find that Regis did not leave any serious problems. You must know that the Cruciatus curse is one of the 3 unforgivable ones because it will not only make the parties feel extremely painful, but also leave large and small sequelae. Wizards who have been hit by the Cruciatus usually need a long time to recover, and some people will even be tortured to the point of madness, causing irreparable damage. At the moment, Reggie has nothing to do. Not only that, the doctor also found that Reggie's soul strength is very high, which shows that he is a very talented little wizard, and he can't help feeling that the little guy will achieve a great career in the future. Back at Lestrange Manor, and briefly told his father what had happened, Reggie couldn't wait to get into his room. There is a soul imprint in his body. This soul imprint comes from the great Salazar Slytherin, and it is this imprint that is suddenly unlocked to let him escape. Until now, Regis finally began to slowly digest all the information brought by the soul imprint. After wrapping the imprint in his mind with magic, a large number of images rushed into Reggie's mind. It turns out that Voldemort didn't get Slytherin's treasure at Hogwarts. Everything in the secret room has already disappeared with the passage of time. No matter how old magic is, no matter how old it is, only the basilisk Hierbo can survive for such a long time. Slytherin himself is a dark wizard, and he believes that the purity of blood will strengthen the magic power of wizards. Coupled with the influence of Muggle witch hunts in his early years, he is not friendly to hemp wizards. In the end, the conflict of teaching ideas became more and more serious. After a big quarrel with the other 3 giants, Slytherin chose to leave. Just when he was about to show off his skills, the news of his break with the Big 3 was revealed to the Holy See by the little Muggle wizard. There were not only Muggles in the Holy See, but the so-called Archbishop was actually a Muggle wizard who had learned magic. That well-prepared hunting operation finally ended with Slytherin's serious injury and escape. I don't know whether it was fortunate or unfortunate, he went through untold hardships to find the legendary Fountain of Good Luck. The good luck fountain that appeared once a year did not bring good luck, but turned him into a prisoner. He became an immortal person who could never leave the fountain. Slytherin used powerful magic to hide the Fountain of Good Luck. Occasionally, unlucky wizards will find it. Whenever this happens, Slytherin will read their memories and kill each other. He is a trapped warrior and a greedy dragon. In this way, through these unlucky bastards, Slytherin learned about the rise of the German Dark Lord, the fame of the White Wizard, his own incompetent descendant, and the final victory of the Savior. In the long years of captivity, Slytherin has long despised many things. Until one day, he found that the fountain of good luck was about to dry up. Only then did Slytherin feel endless sadness. The dryness of the fountain of good luck means that there are no more wizards in the world. For thousands of years, wizards have been in constant internal friction, stagnant, and eventually perished. In the end, Salazar Slytherin sacrificed his soul to Merlin in exchange for a lifeline for the wizarding world. Just like that, Reggie crossed. After the end of the screen, a lot of magic experience and some ancient spells that have been lost poured into my mind. Regis slowly opened his eyes. It turned out that this was the true inheritance of Slytherin. Think about it too, if there is no strong strength, no matter how much gold and silver treasures are only for others to make wedding dresses. He said silently in his heart. Since I took your things, I will definitely try my best to fulfill your wishes. How to stop internal friction in the wizarding world? Now that the horn of the First Wizarding War has sounded, he who has just awakened his magic power can't do anything. Regis knows that standing still will only lead to destruction. The world is so big that wizards are fully capable of developing and obtaining more resources. But how to make these stubborn and conservative wizards listen to them? Support Voldemort? Of course it's impossible. In his opinion, this guy's seedlings are broken, and he has shown a typical antisocial personality since he was a child. Especially after splitting the soul, it is even more irrational. Maybe it was because of ambition to form his own power at the beginning, but Regis, who has read the original book, deeply knows that in the later period, Voldemort was purely killing for the sake of killing. Support Dumbledore? Regis also didn't quite want to go against his will. Because in his opinion Dumbledore is the white left, and his greatest achievement is to prevent himself from becoming a dark wizard. It's a bit overkill when it comes to dealing with Muggle issues. As a headmaster, you shouldn't be prejudiced to deal with issues between students. After Slytherin and Gryffindor arrived, they were on the same page, and Dumbledore had a great responsibility as the headmaster. In that case, why can't he form a new force by himself? Now with the Slytherin heritage, he has the potential to come to the negotiating table. Never put your hope on others, this is the lesson he learned before crossing over, and he also paid the price with his life for this. It has to be said that, in his opinion, the current magical world is simply a mess. As a wizard, the influence of talent is so great that most people fall into the stage of cessation of growth too early, and have already begun to be abandoned by human society. Most obviously, most wizards do not use even don't know about non-magical creations. No one can give up the convenience of magic after enjoying it, not even the hemp wizard. Even the so-called pure-blood families are just a group of poor and backward social fringe members who are immersed in the past glory and dare not look up at the world. From Salazar Slytherin's memories, it is not difficult to see that the wizards were forced to hide by the group of muggles they despised, and used powerful magic to create a world in the cracks. From the fact that the number of people in the entire London magic circle is less than 3,000, it can be seen that it is declining. How can other places be better? And in the final analysis, all of this is a matter of strength. Reggie knew that the battle between the Death Eaters and the Order of the Phoenix had just begun, and the next 10 years would be a tug of war between them, until Voldemort fell in 1981. UU reading www.uuganshu.com. Days go by like this, and it turns out that when Reggie had no magic power, it was simply too wise to learn ancient runes. This script that has been gradually forgotten in the contemporary magic world is actually very meaningful. For example, many spells that Regis inherited from Slytherin himself are runes, which are ancient runes. In the hands of alchemists, they are actually gathered and transmitted through ancient rune symbols. However, as the wizards hid and lived in a peaceful era for a long time, the use of magic became more and more lifelike, and the ancient rune script was replaced by a simpler writing system, which is also the reason why alchemy is declining. Such obscure words should be taken as an elective only in the 3rd grade, and many people can only learn the fur, but Regis has studied hard for many years since he was a child, so he can read it with relish at this moment. But if you work hard, don't ask about the harvest, Merlin pays off. In the future, you will definitely be grateful to yourself who is now fighting the bayonet. It is also from Slytherin's notes that I learned that there were many problems that I didn't understand after reading the original book. For example, it turned out that the ancient wizard actually had a power system, and the reason why the wizarding world was so small. Regis thought about the real world. He is also a muggle in the eyes of this group of wizards, and can view problems more objectively. Humans in the real world attach importance to the ancients, and they will dig and discover the culture of 5,000 years ago to find out if there is anything worth learning from. On the other hand, in the wizarding world, even the things that he lives in can be discarded, and Regis has to feel that his heart is really big. In the following life, Regis entered the mode of frantically reading books because he did not have a magic wand. During the day, he continued to study ancient runes, some culture about goblins, and at night, he studied Slytherin's magic experience seriously. On an ordinary afternoon, a dark-haired boy on the second floor of Lestrange Manor stood by the window and looked into the distance. Just now, Regis finally received an invitation letter from Hogwarts. When this moment really came, he still felt a little excited. There was a kind of pride that the whole of Europe was about to crawl under his feet. When I opened the envelope, what caught my eye was, "Dear Mr. Lestrange, we are pleased to inform you that you have been admitted to the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. A list of required books and equipment is attached to the correspondence. The semester is scheduled to start on September 1st, and we will be waiting for your owl to bring your reply by July 31st. Headmaster, sincerely, Albus Dumbledore." He believes that no one has not dreamed of receiving an invitation to Hogwarts at the age of 11, rubbing the stationery in his hand. "I'm really a wizard. From now on, I'm Reggie Lestrange, and my home is in the magic world." In a sense, he is also a savior. Compared with Harry, who knew nothing about magic in the original book, his starting point cannot be said to be low. With the perspective of God and the inheritance of Slytherin, it can be said that Wong exploded. Suppressing his excitement, he continued to look at the second page of the parchment, which listed the school uniforms, textbooks, cauldrons, pets, and wands that first-year freshmen need to buy. "Reggie, are you holding on tight? Grab firmly." At his own strong request, the old Lestrange decided to take him to Diagon Alley by operating this time, and he was holding his father's arm tightly at this moment. It was the feeling of being squeezed into the tube again, and the two of them went from outside Lestrange's manor to London in the blink of an eye. Reggie stumbled a bit, still somewhat unable to adapt to this way of travel. Then he began to look at everything in front of him, a very narrow and compact street lined with various shops. He couldn't help but sigh with emotion. No wonder wizards are all so Buddhist, and there is no competition in business, right? Look at these stores, they look very shabby and not renovated. After taking 2 steps, he began to have some doubts in his heart. Why are most of these wizards wearing hoods? In the dark corner, many wizards were secretly looking at the blatant two people. When their eyes touched the family crest in front of each other's chest, they were slightly taken aback, and then looked away. Lestrange's family crest is a crow, which means unknown in the wizarding world. Here, Regis is getting more and more wrong. Why is there a display of human bones in the window? Which serious store would sell utensils with a dark red unknown liquid on them? "Father, I think the notice says to buy new items in Diagon Alley, right?" Just as he was guarding the surroundings with a serious expression, old Lestrange was stunned when he heard his son's words. "I made a mistake, try again." Regis was grabbed by his father and appeared in Diagon Alley instantly. The corners of his mouth twitched as he looked at the other party trying to maintain his image at the moment, as if nothing had happened. During the summer vacation, many young wizards who were about to enter school came to Diagon Alley to buy new students' items. Looking at the surging crowd in front of him and the excited smiles on the faces of the little wizards, Reggie felt that this was in line with Diagon Alley in his heart. Regis was happy, but his old father was angry. Old Lestrange looked disgusted and stood on the street full of mudbloods, poor ghosts, and some lower creatures and muggles for a while and couldn't stand it anymore. Regis noticed his expression and understood that this was a common problem of pure-blooded nobles' allergies to non-pure-blooded creatures. "Father, I can. Shopping alone." Old Lestrange didn't let him finish, but rudely handed a gold galleon to him. "Damn mudbloods are about to take over the wizarding world, you should give them some color." At this moment, a man next to him who was holding a large pile of things almost hit him. Judging from the man's clothes, he was obviously a muggle. He hurriedly apologized, but because of the excessive movement, the things on his body fell to the ground. Regis swore that if it wasn't for the wrong place, from his old father's fire-breathing eyes, he could see that the man would not end well. "God, John, what happened? Lily and I found out that you weren't following." "It's okay, dear, I accidentally bumped into this gentleman." The woman quickly came over and looked at her husband. After confirming that he was all right, she quickly apologized. "Sir, I'm so sorry, John didn't bump into you, right?" Reggie almost felt old Lestrange rushing to the tip of his tongue. "Go away, you filthy mudblood." But in the end he didn't say anything, just snorted and turned his head away. Seeing this situation, he was rather thoughtful. The couple was a little embarrassed. It seemed that not every wizard was easy to get along with. The woman picked up the scattered items and muttered in a low voice, "Lily Evans. No more shopping, Dad can't take it anymore." Regis, who was still thinking, was immediately drawn back to his attention by the name www.mentalnovel.com. Lily Evans? Gryffindor flower? The man who took down Voldemort? In Reggie's view, compared to Harry Potter, his mother Lily Evans is the savior, who defeated the Dark Lord with ancient magic. With red hair and blue eyes, it looks much better than in the movie. Hearing her mother's complaint, Lily didn't care, she just smiled and helped her parents pick up things, and they left quickly. Old Lestrange just felt that he couldn't bear it any longer, and deeply regretted the stupid idea of accompanying his son to Diagon Alley today. "I still have something to do, you can go shopping by yourself, and ask Donis to take you back after the end." Seeing that his father had operated again all of a sudden, Regis shrugged helplessly. "After all, I have seen in Slytherin's notes that the continuous casting of spells by a wizard is a very mana-consuming thing, and the greater the difficulty, the more mana required. Apparition, as a spell that only seniors can learn, is not a simple low magic spell." Regis, who has been around wands for a long time, has locked his first stop Ollivander's wand shop. How excited he was when he came in, how numb Reggie was at the moment. He was like an emotionless staff-swinging machine. Looking at the boxes that were about to form a hill in the corner, Reggie waved again, still not feeling the fit. Ollivander said, "Is it because I am too strong? Or accept the Slytherin's soul mark, only the Elder Wand can match me? This is not very good." He was actually persuaded by his own crazy thoughts, and the more he thought about it, the more reasonable it became. Looking at Reggie, who was stunned, Ollivander poked at him with his wand. "Hey, Lestrange boy, don't stand stupidly, try this one quickly." The wand in Reggie's hand seemed to be greatly stimulated, it shook violently, and then a hurricane hung in the store, and thousands of long boxes containing wands were flying around. This scene made Ollivander widen the pair of silver big eyes. With a wave of his wand, the messy shop returned to its original state, and Ollivander opened his mouth with difficulty. "You're a picky customer, at least it means that you're not suitable for the core of a unicorn's wand." Regis carefully recalled the plot in the original book. He remembered that the core of the Elder Wand seemed to be Thestral's hair, so he decided to test his conjecture. "Sir, is there a wand whose core is Thestral's hair?" Ollivander glanced at him. "Thestral hair? Little guy, this is not common, very uncommon. The core of the Thestral feather is very difficult to handle, only a wizard who has conquered death can control it." As he spoke, he turned and continued to rummage among the piles of wands. "Wherever you've heard of this wand, trust me, it's beyond the reach of a little wizard, and it's usually accompanied by unlucky. Ahem, Mr. Ollivander, maybe I can give it a try. Of course, as far as I know, wands with these cores are only seen in Gregorovich wand shops. I thought after all, my family has been making sticks since 382 BC. Maybe I'll have to go to Germany and try." Ollivander turned sharply. There are 3 major stick makers in Europe, namely Ollivander from England, Gregorovich from Germany, and Sarf from France. Just as Ollivander provides wands exclusively for Hogwarts, the main clients of the other 2 master wand makers are Durmstrang and Booth Barton, and of course there are also clients from other places. Reggie remembers that it was said in the original book that Gregorovich once kept the famous Elder Wand, which was later stolen by Grindelwald and killed by Voldemort during the Second Wizarding War. The Elder Wand made him famous until then, and Gregorovich himself has been trying to crack the Elder Wand's secrets. Hearing the name of his old rival at this moment, Ollivander, who is obsessed with the wand-making business, can't bear it anymore. There is no wand maker who doesn't want to make an old wand. Ollivander also copied one, which he tried to sell to wizards who had lost their wands by accident, but they all failed. Regis stood for a while looking at Ollivander's gloomy face, then turned around suddenly and rushed into the back of the shelf, pulled out a long and narrow box that seemed to have been deliberately placed in the corner by him, and handed it to Regis solemnly. "Powerful and dangerous combination, 12 inches long, elderberry, thestral tail feathers, very harsh on its master. Disgusted with the mediocre, only a fairly extraordinary wizard can handle it. Try it, little one, be careful with it, his temper is not good." Regis' breathing was a little short. There were no 2 identical wands in the world. The one in front of him was not the Elder Wand, but he still felt its power. Taking a deep breath, he picked up this unusual wand under Ollivander's anxious and expectant gaze. Regis felt a stream of heat pouring into his body along the wand, as if he was establishing some kind of connection with himself. He felt the magic in his body become active, and he couldn't help but swipe the wand, and a white light group came from the tip of the wand. Overflow. This is really amazing." Ollivander's mountain flashed a frenzy. "Little guy, you will definitely achieve something big in the future." After choosing the wand, Saint Regis was in a good mood. After happily paying the other party 7 galleons, he continued to buy the rest of the items on the shopping list. After returning from Diagon Alley, it was only a month before the school started. During this time, Regis had tried various spells, but due to the lack of magic power, many spells could not be cast. "In the days when I thought I first got the wand, Regis had practiced spells to the point of madness, and had a nightmare at night, and it was Bellatrix's crazy old woman again, who madly shouted 'Devil's fire,' but no matter what. No matter how hard you try, you can't cast the spell. Thinking of what has been learned, you must have real determination when using spells." However, no matter how he hinted at himself in his heart, it was useless. Soul strength determines the upper limit of a wizard, but magic power is very important for wizards to cast spells. Unable to eat hot tofu in a hurry, Reggie suppressed her impatience and began to practice some spells that the apprentice wizard could cast. Time will soon come to September 1st, the day when Hogwarts begins. The turmoil in the magic world became obvious, and various accidents occurred frequently, and the wizards began to be cautious. The Lestrange family arrives at King's Cross. After crossing platform 9 3/4, "I love death magic." Regis looked at the red steam train parked on the track. There was a sign on it that said Hogwarts Express, 11 o'clock. From time to time, screams of children and owls could be heard from the lively crowd. Old Lestrange ignored the hemp wizards around him and spoke with a flat face. "Although I personally recommend that you go to Durmstrang, this year, under the leadership of Dumbledore at Hogwarts, there have been more and more mudbloods. Fortunately, There are also many purebloods in Slytherin. Caught, don't read all the time, you should learn how to make friends. Take care of your brother, Rodolphus. After the two brothers obeyed their father obediently, old Lestrange left neatly. Rodolphus looked at this younger brother who had little communication on weekdays. Reading www.uugonshu.com said, "Listen, Regis, your lower grade box is in the 2.5 car, our 5th grade is in the back, what can you do? Come find me." Reggie replied, "I see. He is the younger brother of the other party, but he is also a transmigrator, not to mention that the two have not had much interaction since they were young, especially after he was 7 years old and did not awaken his magic power, and it was possible that he had a squib. Therefore, naturally, they will not let other brothers cross their shoulders and have a close relationship." After the two brothers reached an agreement, they broke up on the spot. Rodolphus took the lead in boarding the train to find his companion. Regis stared at the interior of the box and pouted. He found that this was a very ordinary Muggle train. These wizards said no, but they were still very honest, and they got a little train from the Muggle world. After putting away the luggage, Regis began to look carefully at his wand, and he couldn't even fire it out when he fainted. Here, I have to complain about Slytherin himself. The inheritance he left to Reggie is some profound magical knowledge, complex spells, and even the history of fairies and alchemy. But he ignored that the current Regis is just a trainee magician. It is equivalent to just learning to walk, but you let him drive, oh no, fly a plane. Depressed, he turned the wand in his hand. The magic that he has had the deepest contact with and has practical experience with should be the Cruciatus. After all, he almost got drilled to death. Thinking of that crazy woman, Regis swears in her heart that she must make her look good. Then he recalled the scene when Bellatrix tortured him. With the hatred in his mind, he turned his hand and aimed his wand at himself. Gouging out the bone. Gouging out the bone.